It's something you've got to do every single season. Dean Legge, Matt DeBerry, not just join us on all of these riveting videos, but Matt, someone's got to replace guys like Mikael Williams, Malachi Starks, Jalen Walker, and in the past, Jalen Carter, Stetson Bennett, etc. Coming into the 2025 season, Georgia come off in a Southeastern Conference championship. Let's talk about this. Who is the most difficult player the Dogs will have to replace after the draft on over this weekend?
Yeah, I think Kirby said it many times. We got to replace this many snaps, this many snaps. And I think the first guy that comes to mind is probably the Butkus Award winner, right? Jalen Walker, best linebacker in college football. I think most people are probably looking there to say that's going to be the toughest guy to replace, not only because of his versatility, but because of the impact he made, not only getting after the quarterback, as Quinn Ewers and Texas fans know, but his ability in the run game, just running down the ball carrier, trying to get to the sideline. But I think C.J. Allen, Dean, and Raylan Wilson are going to be very, very good linebackers. So I think they're going to be okay at inside linebacker, as good as he was. I don't know if they've got a guy who can replace Malachi Starks, even though you can make the case he took a small step backwards from his play in 2022 and 2023. I think he'd be the first to say, you know what, I left some plays out there. I could have played a little better. He's a guy that's going to be drafted in the first round, but I know they've got KJ Bolden. I think that other safety spot is really up for grabs, and that's a really talented guy who started for 3 years that they're going to have to replace. So while it's going to be tough to replace Jalen Walker and Mikael Williams, I think replacing Malachi Starks is probably where the biggest drop-off is going to come from.
Well, I've got your attention. Check out the link down below from our good friends at BetMGM. Use the promo code MEGABET, MEGABET, to get a chance of up to $1,500 on bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. The link is right down below. You can bet on any number of things. Futures for the NFL, futures for college football. They got baseball betting, all sorts of things that you can have fun with. Let's be responsible about it. Don't miss out on this. It's a really cool thing. Again, from our buddies over at BetMGM, use the promo code MEGABET, MEGABET. Get a chance for up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Check it out. Links right down below. And that's the thing. You had Dan Jackson as a support person for such a long time in that secondary. He was starting. He was playing on huge plays like the national championship game winner with Keely Ringo and so forth. I say support player. That's probably the worst way to put it. I mean, the guy played a bunch of snaps. He's not there anymore either. So that sort of compounds the challenge for them. KJ Bolden will be back there. I think it's one spot where they're going to have to take a look at, where are we going with these transfer guys? I mean, I think that you can, with the additions in the secondary from Morris and Maddox from Miami and UAB respectively, you've got a chance to move some guys around, I guess. But like corners play corner and safeties play safety. I mean, you don't usually switch those around. It'd be very odd. Kirby Smart never. Now I do not ever recall Kirby Smart playing corner. He was a safety. They're very different positions, to be honest with you. And so they need to pencil in or punch in whoever they got. I don't know who that will be right now, Matt. I mean, Aguero, I guess, would be one safety possibility, but he doesn't. Go ahead.
Well, you got to put him at star. Someone's got
right. I was just going to say
too. So Ja'Cory Thomas has been around for feels like 10 years now, and they've got the two that showed up. Sorry, I just got a whole bunch of text from something else related. Gotta love the family group chats. But they brought in. I like the kid, the Maddox kid from UAB. I think Jaden Harris from Miami still has a little ways to go. But someone's going to have to step up because those snaps have to be taken by someone. I'll say this, there was a small drop off between Cedric Van Pran and Jared Wilson. I think center is another spot where I don't know how backwards they're going to go. Maybe it's not significant at all, but I think Drew Bobo replacing Jared Wilson is something that's really, really important as well on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, so I agree with you. There's some question about production or whatever you want to call it right there. Now, the difference in this case was where I don't recall Jared Wilson starting when Cedric was around, did he?
No.
Right.
just the 1 year starter last year. But Cedric Van Pran may be the best center in program history, and
Maybe
add more. But
they've
he
had some
was
really good. They've had some really good centers too.
yeah,
That's the thing. I mean, David Andrews, Ben Jones, Fernando Velasco was a very good center. They've had Peter Anderson from 1980s was a very good center. They have a lot of very good centers over the years. You like that Peter Anderson blast there, 1985?
yeah.
I think the line specifically, if Drew Bobo is your center, then that solves one problem. You know who your center is. That doesn't mean necessarily that you'll have a good play at center, and it also doesn't mean that the rest of your line will. But it does that the rest of your line will play well. But it does set one of the two most important positions on the line, which is center. The other I would say is left tackle. Your guards. I mean, I'm not saying you can get them off the street, but you can get guards in an SEC program like Georgia and to play. Left tackle is it going to be Ernest Green or Monroe Freeling?
I think best case scenario is Ernest Green.
I agree with you.
Started there last year. I think he started about 8 or 9 games.
Yeah,
they
he
were
did.
both bad against Ole Miss. They both have to improve their play. I think ideally it would be Ernest Green, a healthy Ernest Green, so where you can leave Monroe Freeling more on that right side.
Yeah, well, they were not exclusively the bad players that night or that day, whatever that was. That game was such a. Georgia was fortunate there wasn't a lot on the line during that game because that's as bad as they played under Kirby that I can remember in a while. And to be honest with you, like when was that game over, Matt? In the third quarter late or the early fourth quarter?
I'd say probably early fourth.
Yeah.
I mean, the offensive line was just getting beat up, and it was they weren't tough enough. Ole Miss was the tougher team that played hard and they earned it. But moving along,
yeah. Well, look. Here's the thing. Mikal Williams, I thought would have a more disruptive and a bigger season in 2024 than he did. A lot of that was injury. He showed up at times. Jalen Walker is the guy that I think that you're not just losing Jalen Walker, Matt. You're also losing, Chaz Chambliss on the opposite side and Damon Wilson. So you've got some challenges at pass rusher for sure. And Jalen Walker could go for sure top 10, right? I don't know about top 5.
Yeah. I don't think he'll get past the Carolina Panthers. I think they're at 8 or so. So
God bless him if he goes to the Panthers. That is a horrible organization.
Yeah.
It just is.
Aren't much better, but
the Falcons are better than the Panthers, though. Let's be honest now.
I'll give them that.
I mean, the Falcons.
Fine, but
I'm not rising up anytime soon. I'm just saying that in a division that has, I would say, 4 not great franchises, I can't believe I'm going to say that the Panthers are the worst because at least the Saints seem functional from time to time. Obviously, the Bucs have a quarterback. The biggest problem in all of these situations is they don't have quarterback play, typically speaking. We'll see if the Falcons go on that front. We'll see if the Falcons grab Jalen Walker. I mean, Mikal Williams. There's been plenty of discussion about Atlanta and Mikal Williams. I mean, that would be a very good fit, but Atlanta's got. This is the problem with the draft, Matt. As fascinating as it is, there's just so many holes at a lot of different franchises. Atlanta's got plenty of them, but he would be a very good addition to the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know how Georgia replaces Mikal Williams. How are they going to replace that sort of potential for production?
Well, that's tough because you can't teach length, and that's what he
Right.
brought. And he had the size, he had the length, and when he was healthy, not only was he a strong run defender that I think people kind of forget, he can also attack the quarterback, and the stats aren't jaw-dropping. You're not going to look up his numbers and be like, man, double-digit sacks here. He was a force here. A lot of it was because he was banged up, but he does have that part of his game. I mean, he beat that Ohio State left tackle in the fourth quarter as a freshman in that Peach Bowl. It feels like forever ago. But he does make plays in big moments. And when healthy, I still think his best football is way ahead of him, too. But as far as replacing him, they've got some young guys, Isaiah Gibson, Darren Ickenogben, who I think if they put on more weight can play with their hand in the ground the way he did. But he was a 5-star for a reason and was a multi-year starter. So he is going to be very hard to replace as well.
Well, Isaiah Gibson. So my down and back to Lee County that day when he played down there, his length, it's all there. You certainly could see it. Is he ready? I don't know. Was Mikael Williams ready in 2022?
Not immediately, but he got better as that freshman year went on. Maybe someone else will step up in that same type of fashion.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, but you think it's Malachi Starks that they got to figure out how to replace. KJ Bolden is going to have a good season, and I think if he does, that will maybe go a ways away. But if it's I would say Malachi and Dan both not being there are tricky, Matt. Very tricky at safety.
Yeah, I mean that's it's so important to the defense. You can't get beat deep, right? Everyone knows when a defensive back doesn't do their job. If a defensive lineman gets blown backwards on one play, easy to overlook and forget about it. But you have to have excellent safety play if you want to win a championship. And Georgia had that with Lewis Seen, and they had that with Javon Bullard back there at safety. And Malachi Starks made plays this season as well. You have to have outstanding defensive back play if you want to win anything. And they're replacing a lot of guys back there.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.